Hi everyone, Katja here. Today we're diving into an important work from Tilted Access Press. For those that are new to them, they're a publisher focused on bringing globally inclusive literature to the forefront. So if that sounds interesting, be sure to check out more from this publisher in the dedicated playlist on the channel. Black Box is a non-fiction novel by Shiori Ito, a distinguished Japanese journalist and filmmaker who is known for her bold examination of social issues, particularly those affecting gender equality and human rights. Born in 1989, Ito has significantly shaped the discussion around sexual violence in Japan, challenging deep-seated cultural and legal barriers faced by survivors. Now, I hesitated to start reading Black Box. I actually bought this in 2022. I was afraid that it's going to be too distressing, but I'll explain shortly why that wasn't the case. The book details Ito's personal experiences with sexual assault and the subsequent legal battles. Her advocacy and these legal battles have spurred public discussions and driven policy changes in Japan. Her relentless pursuit of truth also earned her Japan's Freedom of the Press Award and other awards, and she remains a vital voice for transparency, justice, and empowerment. So, reading Black Box was more accessible and also more challenging than I expected in very different ways from what I thought before I picked it up. It is written with the clarity and focus of an investigative journalist. The narrative reveals the harsh realities of the normalization of dismissing sexual violence in a country like Japan. Ito shares her early life, her aspirations to become an investigative journalist, and her commitment to fairness. She describes growing up in a culture that valued conformity, but also having a supportive family that liked and accepted that she chose to stand out due to her innate curiosity and determination. Now, as a preteen, to support her family financially, she took up modeling at a young age, a decision she is clear was made independently of her mother, who was not the type of mom to suggest or force her children to do things they were not comfortable to do. And she continued modeling despite later getting bullied by classmates when they discovered that she worked and earned money by having her photo taken. So Ita reflects on these experiences as she's growing up, noting for that particular thing. At first, it was just mild teasing, but before long, it progressed to bullying. At school, the norms dictated that you mustn't stand out. As long as you were the same as everyone else, you were safe. If you stuck out even the slightest bit, you were branded a weirdo. You weren't allowed to stray from the path laid out for you. This was my first taste of the pain of existing within the closed order of society. So that really struck me because following the assault, the perpetrator's dismissive comments about strong women added a real chilling layer to the narrative that Ito provides us about cultural norms and standing out in Japan. Although written in a factual tone, Ito's account evoked real indignation, sadness, and anger in me. I didn't have to put it down because she really does, throughout the book, make sure that you don't get to that point. It didn't feel overwhelming, but still, it became frustrating, especially the repetitive nature, as Ita recounts how over and over and over again her ordeal has to be explained to nurses, prosecutors, and police time and time again, and they do nothing, sometimes responding insensitively or even abusively, but largely doing nothing. You have to read the book to believe the details of what actually unfolds in the clinics, the law offices, and police stations, and more. Now, written in 2017, this book was later translated by Tilted Access in 2021, and around that time, Ito was awarded 3.3 million yen, which is $30,000. in damages, a sum likely much less than what an out-of-court settlement would have provided. And Ito, however, is really clear from the start that she wanted to get into court to make changes, and she was not looking for the financial restitution outside of court, something that was proposed ridiculously on multiple occasions, and not just by the perpetrator's lawyers, but also by the prosecution and the police. So everyone was telling her, settle this out of court, don't make it public. Despite online abuse and threats to her safety following the public allegations, Ito continued to refuse to settle out of court, and she detailed the support she had from her closest friends and from her family, and how these events also affected them. It's through her perseverance over several years that the case made it to court, and that she was able to have it acknowledged that she was violently sexually assaulted while unconscious. Ito's battle against legal challenges and societal indifference not only advanced discussions on Japan's legal system, but also led to some reforms. Now, this book also includes statistics on sexual assault, illustrating that low reporting rates in Japan have led to assumptions that low statistics mean low incidents, but are actually reflective of institutions not recording assaults, and many people fearing dismissal and therefore not reporting it themselves. Another statistic highlighted, amongst others, is the common misconception about consent, as shown by a radio station survey, in which surprisingly high number of people saw sexual consent in statements that provided no consent at all. So, for example, some of those surveyed thought someone was consenting to sex with them if we ate a meal together, just us two. We shared drinks together, just us two. They got into my car, we were alone, just us two. So it's a really, really highly recommended read from me, but only if you're able to read the subject matter. Tilted Access Press and translator Alison Markin Powell did a fantastic job bringing this to us in English. Now, Tilted Access aims to enrich the English-speaking scene with high-quality literature from Asia and beyond, focusing on underrepresented voices and stories. And Alison Markin Powell, the translator of this book, is celebrated for her ability to sensitively and accurately bring contemporary Japanese literature to English-speaking audiences. And I think that really shines through in this translation. Like I say, it does sometimes feel repetitive and that way wears you down, but you get a sense of what Shiori Ito actually experienced. Now, Black Box isn't just a personal recount, it is a profound commentary on the societal and legal battles faced by many in the wake of sexual violence. And Ito has made this book as accessible as possible to ensure that readers like us better understand the dynamics at play, the dynamics of power, personal influence, because that came into play, justice and resilience. So let me know if you've read this book, are going to read it, or are familiar with Shiori Ito's work. And stay tuned for more discussions on books that tackled social issues like this. And as always, keep reading. Shiori Ito's assault took place on April 2015. Her case was originally thrown out of court, and Ito was told by police and prosecutors that her case was a black box, untouchable and unprosecutable. In 2017, this book was first published in Japan. Then, after years of perseverance, in 2019 she was awarded damages, and it was acknowledged that she was sexually assaulted by Mr. Yamaguchi, someone she knew in a professional capacity. At the time of her assault and report, Japan's laws regarding rape were over a century old, and she called on Parliament to review these laws. 8 years after being sexually assaulted, in June 2023, Japanese Parliament passed a series of bills updating their sex crime laws for the first time in over a century. They also increased the age of consent from 13 to 16. outlawed taking explicit photos with hidden cameras, and expanded the definition of rape from forcible sexual intercourse to non-consensual sexual intercourse. This now covers those who are impaired by alcohol or drugs, are coerced by someone in a position of authority over them, and more. Shiori Ito changed Japan. In January 2024, a documentary based on the book and the years that followed premiered at the 2024 Sundance Film Festival. It's called The Black Box Diaries and is highly acclaimed.